Welcome back to the show. Let's dive right in.
Awesome. Okay, welcome back to the ASVAB Domination podcast. I'm Mickey Gamonal, and I am super duper pumped today to be speaking with Noah Fuller. Noah, congratulations, man. You went and worked hard and you got the score you needed, and you have an awesome ASVAB story. So I'm so stoked to be talking to you today about that. Congrats.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you having me today, and I appreciate you working with me over the past few weeks.
Yeah, no, it was an absolute privilege. You were a great student. I'm happy. You never know when you're working with students because test day, you never know how it's going to turn out. I believe in you throughout the whole process, but some people do have test anxiety, and when push comes to shove, it's hard. So the fact that you were able to go out there, you put in the effort, and then you got the achievement from that effort, I'm just happy that I'm part of that story. So congrats again, man. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, why you were trying to improve your score, where you were coming from?
Yes, sir. So my name is Noah. I'm from Alabama. I'm in the Army National Guard. I've been in the Guard for about 4 years now. I initially joined as an MP. For those who don't know, MP is military police. So my first about 2.5 years, I was doing MP stuff when I would go to drill, and it really wasn't for me. And so I started seeking other opportunities and other MOSs that were in the Alabama Guard. And I didn't know where I wanted to go. I just knew I wanted to do something different. There's nothing wrong with military police. It just wasn't for me. So I started looking around, and I found about CBRN. And I wanted to go do CBRN, which for those who don't know, CBRN is chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear in the Army. And so I wanted to do something similar or something different other than the MP world. And when I got to my new unit, they told me I needed to raise my GT score. Although for CBRN, you don't need a high GT score. You need a high ST score, which stands for skilled technician. But they wanted me to have the GT score for other opportunities in the future if I wanted to go to OCS or if I wanted to go to WAC, or if I believe in the Army, you have to have certain scores to go to certain schools as well. So I knew I didn't have the best ASVAB score when I joined. I was just super nervous when it came time to taking the ASVAB. I actually took the ASVAB, I believe 3 or 4 times trying to get a higher score. And my first time taking the ASVAB, I think I scored 45, which isn't bad, but isn't that great. But I was a few points off from being a medic, and that's what I initially wanted to join as. And I should have kept the score I had, knowing what I know now, because I continued to take it, and I got worse and worse and worse, and I didn't know what I was doing wrong. But I wasn't studying. It was more of, it's a test, it can't be that hard. And what I know now about the ASVAB is that you truly have to study. There's only a small percent of people who can go and take a test without studying and pass. But for the most part, I needed to study, and not just study for a few days, but for a few weeks or a few months. And so leading up to about March of this year, I was talking to my unit, and they were like, hey, we would like you to get your score up. And I didn't know what to do because I've been in the military for a few years. And what I didn't know was, if you're currently serving in the military, you cannot go back and take the ASVAB.
Okay.
You have to go through the BSEP course, which is called, I think it's called the Basic Skills Education Program or something.
100%, yeah.
So you cannot go to a recruiter anymore and
just take
the ASVAB. You can't take that anymore. They changed that a few years ago, and so it's new now that you have to go to the course.
Gotcha. They changed the name of the test. Was it still an ASVAB, or was it an Armed Forces Classification Test? Was it an AFCT?
Yes.
It is.
So it's a little confusing. You're taking the AFCT, which is, like you said, the Armed Forces Classification Test, but it's the exact same as the ASVAB.
Right. Yes, and it tests the same subjects, all the same nine subtests. Everything is exactly the same. They just changed the name based on whether you're prior service or not. Perfect.
And so all you have to do to register for the BSEP, as far as National Guard, Reserve, or active, all you have to do is find a base near you that offers the BSEP. Now, the instructors did tell us that different bases do have different procedures as far as the class. Some classes are 3 weeks, some classes are 2 weeks. Some classes, you just have to use the Dante's website, and that's your 2 weeks worth of material.
Mm-hmm.
Some courses on other bases offer in-person 2 to 3 weeks. So I was fortunate to have in-person instructors for 2 weeks. So basically all you do is just get in touch with your unit, fill out the information, find out when they have upcoming BSEP schedule, which they have it every Monday. That's when they start.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 2 weeks long. So you can actually register for the BSEP and not test.
Wow. Did people do that?
Most people who were struggling, like really bad struggling, they chose to extend and
study longer.
Yeah, so you can study longer. But the thing is like week 1, you're kind of going over the basics as far as the GT. So what covers GT is your arithmetic reasoning and your word knowledge and paragraph comprehension. So what they do the first week is you kind of start at 9 o'clock, and it's basically an introduction from decimals, fractions, basic algebra, word problems. And then the second half of the day, you build on your word knowledge and paragraph comprehension.
Okay.
And then sometimes you finish with a little bit more math. But they really emphasize the math because math's, like some people can look at math and go, oh, I'm not solving that because it looks super scary.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
And I was kind of like that at first, but that's when I would talk to you on our calls about just, I'm getting the problem right and I'm doing it super fast. It's just far as just slowing down and taking your time and comprehending what they're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
well, and specific for you, I want to interject because specifically for the way that you would approach these problems is you would get the questions right, but you were kind of feeling it out like heart of the card style, right? Like you would see the question, you would say, which of these answers makes the most sense to me? And then you'd guess, but you wouldn't really know how to bridge the gap of how did I get that guess right? And so that's really what we would spend probably an hour-long session doing maybe just 3 questions. But because we're talking about each question for 20 minutes so that you really understand why you're right. It's not enough just to get it right and have a few lucky guesses. And you were really receptive to that. A lot of students who feel like, oh, I got that right, let's move on to the next one. They don't take the time to try and figure out why they got it right. But you were one of the exceptions who would actually be like, okay, I know that I did get it right, but I don't know 100% exactly why. And so you were actually open to learning, which is really the most important thing. And I'm sure it served you well at BSEP as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, they go over the basics, but then they kind of go over it fast because they have to hit on a lot of information within 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not gonna lie. It's been a while since I've multiplied fractions and decimals. And so I would kind of get the first few days I was okay with it. And then like a week later, day 8, it's like, okay, I haven't done fractions in a few days. Should I go back and practice it? Or am I good enough now that I can just move on to something that I know I'm going to struggle with in the future? And like you said, I'm not okay with just looking at a problem and eliminating it to a 50-50 shot and then guessing and getting it right and then moving on because the next time it's not going to be that easy.
Right.
And so as far as the BSEP, if there was a problem I knew I was going to struggle with, I would look at it for a few seconds, maybe a few minutes to really comprehend what I'm reading. But I would always just come back to it. And once you take the test and you practice enough, you kind of get the gist of how the test is going to run and which problems you're going to struggle with. So let's say you make a 20 out of 30 on the practice test. Well, practice tests are going to be different than the actual test unless you're taking an in-person written test.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why they give you more problems is to help you. Let's say you have an hour. You can do 30 problems in an hour. But on the test, you're going to have 50 minutes to do 15 problems.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just you're doing more within the hour, so you know that you can do 15 in an hour.
Yep. Yeah.
And everybody actually did really well with having 30 problems and doing it under an hour. It was only people would struggle when they didn't know what to do and they would skip it.
Mm-hmm.
But the instructors were good enough to tell you that as long as you're getting 16 to 18 problems done, you're still in that threshold of performing really well.
Right.
Because the actual test is only 15.
100%. Doing a longer stretch of a math test to prepare for a math test that's only half as many questions, you have that endurance already built up so you can just fly through.
That's right.
Hell yeah. I love that.
I would catch myself about 10 minutes left being on problem 24 just because I would look at a few problems and go, I know how to solve this. I'm just stuck, but I have to move on. So I would I would work into the last 2 minutes, and then I would go back and say, hey, I'm going back to the ones I circled, and I'm going to figure out if I can solve it in the next 30 seconds to a minute, because I know I need to get as much points as possible. So then I'm going to fill in. I'm just going to overlook the problem and see which one I eliminated to 50-50. And like you said, I would learn that some of them I would guess and guess right. And some of them I would have to say, okay, I did miss that. I need to learn how to do this next time. So after you take your test, the instructors go over each problem. Some are very simple. Some are very complex, but they sit there and they tell you how to do it. And they also tell you, there's a million ways to do one problem.
Nice.
They're going to show you a few ways to do it. And then they're going to be open to hearing you about how you solved it. Because some people are going to have the strangest way to solve 2 times 2, right? Mm-hmm. But if that works for them, that works for them. But the instructors, they can't say, we'll come up here and show us how you done it, because that may not work for you.
Right.
So they just show you kind of the basics of solving the problem. And as you progress throughout the week, the material gets a little bit harder and harder and harder, and you're taking more tests. That was something I didn't do that much before going to the BSEP, was take tests, because I was so nervous about timing myself and being stuck on a problem. And man, I know how to do this, and I'm 10 minutes in and I'm on question 5. Like, man, I'm not going to do good. Like, that was my mentality, because I was so nervous. But taking the test, it's like, wait, this is actually pretty easy.
Nice.
And so I recommend the BSEP to everybody. It not only prepares you in those 2 weeks or 3 weeks or however long you take it, but it prepares you to take the test, no matter if you're anxious or if you're nervous or if you know that you're just not ready in general. It prepares you, but you have to do the work outside of the course. And that was something I did. I had to sacrifice my time for the 2 weeks, even on the weekend, to study, because I didn't want to disappoint myself. I didn't want to disappoint anybody else, because I wasn't worried about anybody else. I was worried about myself, because I know that I should have scored higher when I initially joined the Army, but I didn't take it that serious, because I was like, it's just a test, Mm-hmm. So.
Dang. Wow. That's crazy. It's a really cool story. A lot of people would leave it alone, right? A lot of people, I'm sure you've heard this before. I'm in the National Guard too. We hear only 1% join the military. A lot of people talk about joining the military. Only 1% of people actually do. What is it that drives you, that you were like, you know what? I'm going to make this better, right? Because going through and taking the test again after you've already gotten in and joined the military, a lot of people would argue, bro, you're good. Like, you have an MP job, it's a good gig. You're just going to be doing something different on your weekends when you go CBRN anyway, right? Like, what is the big pull? What's making it so that you're going to go through, relearn freaking division, which nobody wants to do, right? Nobody who's had success in their life wants to go back to these steps and grind through and learn how to kill a test after they've already, done all that hard work. So what was it about you that made you think, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this BSEP thing. I'm going to hire a tutor. I'm going to do it right this time. I'm going to make sure that I pass. What inspired you to get to that point?
That's a really good question. So a little bit about me. I've played sports my whole life. And so I've always naturally been competitive. But I've always wanted to, just as much as being competitive on the field, I've wanted to match that in the classroom. And, sometimes you just don't get there because of little things you struggle with throughout high school and college. So I graduate and I go to college, and it's the same thing. Sometimes you have really good professors, sometimes you don't. And so sometimes you struggle naturally. Well, I graduated with a college degree in December of last year. And I knew that I was okay with taking exams, but I still had that testing anxiety. Just natural. I never liked taking tests, even though I would perform well. I was more of a B+ to a C+ guy. Mm-hmm. That was just naturally how I felt. But I always knew that I was capable of being an A+ guy. It was just as much as retaining the information and understanding why you use certain procedures or formulas for that answer. So not getting the MOS I wanted when I joined has stuck with me throughout my 4 years. And now that I'm no longer playing sports in college, it's one of those things where me personally, it's like, okay, yes, you were part of the 1% who played college athletics, but it wasn't how it turned out to be for you, how you imagined it to be. So now that you're in the military and you can control your own destination, you have to take it while you can before it gets too late in your career. And you're complacent. You're like, man, I'm okay with this MOS, and I'm okay with being, this rank for this long. And deep down you're capable of going above and beyond. That was what drove me to reach out to you, because I was about to take a shower. I'll never forget. I was listening to one of your podcasts. I was just scrolling because it was a day I was nervous, and I was like, ASVAB tutors podcast on Apple Podcasts.
Okay.
And yours popped up, and I clicked on it. I was like, let me just read this, because I've listened to some, and it was more of like tips on how to prepare the day before. And I was like, it's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for something the day before. I'm looking for preparation day by day, things to do. And I listened to yours, and I was like, wow, like he really spoke out about how you have to take accountability of yourself and study and use the tips that they give to you and apply it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was sitting on the couch next to my dad after I got the shower, and I was like, hey, I've never purchased for a tutoring session before, but I'm really thinking about purchasing this. And I was like, what do you think? And he was like, well, how bad do you want that score? And I was like, I don't want the score. I need the score. Like, I have to get it. And so I bought it, and I knew I didn't have time. I think it was a 5-week plan.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I didn't have 5 weeks to complete the course. But the very next day, I woke up early, and it was like 5 a.m. I woke up, I did an hour of the first day material. And then I think a few days later, we had our one-on-one, and that's when we talked about, I briefed you on my situation,
mm-hmm.
and you're like, we can definitely get you ready. And I think I had 3 weeks before I left. And so That's what got the ball rolling. And also I don't like being complacent. I want to go further and see where I can go as far as, it's a job. I want to see how far I can take this.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think like my favorite part of that answer is you knew that if you waited longer, it would be twice as hard to change, right? Like if you become E6, A7, E8, then you're worried about like, how do I run my platoon, right? How do I, whatever it is on the MP side of like, how are we preparing for AT, or how are we going to support this asset, whatever it is. You were still at a point early enough in your career that it was still about you. What can I do to make my life better? And so I think it's awesome, man. A lot of people, I'm sure, barely, like I teach ASVAB all the time. So I see people who barely make it, right? They barely score that 31. They get in by the skin of their teeth, and obviously their life's better for it, right? They worked hard, they got something they wanted, and they're better off. The difference is to turn around and refine and say, okay, well, that was good, but I can still make it better. That is hard. I would say that's even harder than just scoring right the first time, right? Because now you have to take what's already a good thing and motivate yourself to want something better. So good on you, man. Congratulations.
That's absolutely right. You have to find that time if you really want something, to dedicate your time to it and to chase it. Because when my new unit first told me about, hey, you got to get your score up, I didn't know what to do. I thought I was already eligible for it, which I was, but they were looking out for me for the future.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And so I bought the big ASVAB for Dummies book, like the big blue book.
Yep.
And I'm reading it, but there's a lot of information in there that shouldn't be in there. It's just explaining it to you. And I'm like, I get overwhelmed when I see that. And I'm like, I like things short, simple. Like, I think they call it in school, short, simple, stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was kind of how I grew up with math. It was short, simple, stupid.
Yep.
It's just, you're stupid enough that, like a first grader can understand it.
Yeah, that's what you want.
But that's kind of how I motivated myself was, okay, I'm going to read the book. And then if the book stops working, like it's just too much, I'm going to switch to an ASVAB website. The thing about ASVAB websites is they're all going to be a little bit different from each other, but they're going to help you. It's just as far as, do you understand it?
Mm.
And so I can't remember the first website I used, but it had all of the categories on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you click on like arithmetic reasoning, it would go into fractions, decimals, and all types of things. And so it kind of gets repetitive. If you complete fractions and then you come back the next day to do fractions, it's the same exact thing. So you're not really
right. You're not gaining any skills. Yeah.
You're just looking for a pattern of, oh, I know what that is. I did it last time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just clicking it. So then I moved on to a different website, and it was the same exact thing. And then that's when I reached out to you, and I was doing your quizzes and your test, and I would catch myself like, oh, wow, I got this one wrong. I need to like figure out this one. I'm gonna ask this when we have our tutor session.
Mm-hmm.
And then BSEP, I'm going to be honest with you. The only thing I was really struggling about, the only thing I was worried about were word problems, because word problems are made to trick you. They add a lot of information in there that's not necessary, but it's up to you to eliminate that
mm-hmm.
and to figure out the problem what they're asking. And so a lot of students actually struggle with the math because they either haven't taken a math class since high school and they're active duty, or B, they're scared of math and they're just scared to take it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm fortunate that I just graduated college, so school was still fresh in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, if I were to wait until I was at E6 or E7 and I haven't been in school, it's going to be a little bit more harder to comprehend the information because your priorities are different in life.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's nothing wrong with being an MP. You know, I enjoyed my
right.
After 3 years. It was just I wanted to do something different. And
it's all optionality. Like, I've tutored students who wanted to go in as cooks, right? 92 golfs, sometimes it's looked down upon. But like, at the end of the day, if you join the military and you get in as a 92 golf contract, but you had other options, you're going to show up better, right? You're going to know that, okay, I chose this. This was what I wanted to do, not I was forced into it. So, no, man, that's awesome. I did want to ask, because a lot of people don't, like, you talked to your dad and you said, hey, man, do you think it's a good idea for me to go forth and get some tutoring? And he was able to kind of support you in that element. Is that like a common thing? Because I know you did sports previously as well. So you've probably had that level of support throughout, right? For the most part, as far as like people telling you to go after what you want.
Oh, absolutely. And it started with when I first mentioned it to my parents, it was mainly my dad of saying, hey, are you studying? Like, hey, are you studying? And I was like, yeah, I'm studying. But then it gets to the point where it's like, it's Friday. I'm not really going to study today. You know, I'm really excited for the weekend. And then it's like, hey, you know, like, your 2 weeks is coming up. Like, are you studying? And it's like, yes, I'm studying. And then I was near that 1 month window where it's like, okay, I've been studying, but I do not feel confident myself. So I need to figure out something. And coming from parents who are very supportive as far as education, it was just spend the money because you're investing it in yourself. And so that's what I did. I didn't look at it as a loss because I knew that I was going to get actual feedback from a real person outside of AI, that you were going to talk to me and say, hey, you are confident, you are fast. Like, the work you've done before we've met, like, was helping you. But this is where we're going to refine those skills. And that's what we did.
Yep, 100%. I love it. No, I think you came in as kind of the perfect student because you had been working before showing up. And all I got to do then is just say, okay, this, you might want to look at this part. You might want to look at that part. Keep doing these 7 other things that you've been doing. You might be able to forget about 1 or 2 of them, but like, really focus on this. This is the main blocker for you. And so then from there, you're targeted in what you're studying. And I do that all the time. Some students don't target it. Like, I'll tell them, like, you need to work on, percentage questions, and they will just blow it off. But you stuck with it. So you definitely earned your score. I'm happy that BSEP was able to add in, and like help you to supercharge that score. That's so cool. What I did want to ask is, can you tell me a little bit about your actual test day? Like, do you remember the initial, like how you felt while you were going through and taking your test? Good. Okay. So cool. Noah, congratulations on that awesome score. Can you tell me specifically, what was your test day like?
Yes, sir. So, my test day was probably a little bit different than how people would recommend taking the preparation for your test day. So Friday was the last day of class, and it was kind of like a half day. They were just refining things that we're most likely to see on the exam, but you're probably not going to see. So after that, I took the rest of the afternoon off because like I said, I was just cramming and studying from 9, technically from the moment I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning to about 7:30, and
That night,
taking an hour off for like getting ready for work and eating breakfast, and then going from class to 9 to 12, still studying through lunch because you're about to take another test, and then from 1 to 4, you're back in class.
oof.
Then I would go get dinner because I knew I have other obligations outside of the BSEP, right? So I would go and get dinner or go work out or do something to get my mind off of school.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to school in the hotel from about 5 to 11 at night.
Oof.
Because I wanted to know that I was prepared for the exam. I didn't want to, well, I'm 50-50 on this. I'll just wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow you're going to learn something different. You're going to leave that behind. It's up to you to retain that information.
Mm-hmm.
So Friday passed. I did a little bit of studying that night just because, I was nervous. Saturday, I wanted to cram on the vocabulary because you learn 35 words every single day.
Okay.
Now, one thing about the ASVAB is the words are going to be very similar to each other, but it's up to you to tell them apart. And so I'm not sure how it is for the BSEP, but they were telling us that different sites have different words. So I'm not sure, sometimes you can take a different, like you're taking test 3A or test 3B, something like that. I'm not sure what the test was, but they said that the words for Fort Campbell were these words. And so we would study 35 words every single day. And they were the same words from day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and so on. But they were slightly different.
Okay.
But you notice from day 1 to day 10 that they're the same words. It's just a synonym of the word.
Okay. Do you have like an example? Was it like,
Yes. I have my whole book right here that I bought at the PX and filled it up with notes. Let me find an example. Like seed and yield. Seed and yield are synonyms of each other. Seed means to surrender or yield. Well, guess what? Yield is in the definition. And yield means the exact same thing. And so you can kind of see that, well, seed looks like yield. Okay, but there's another word down here that's yield. And so it's like, what's that synonym? Well, let me match this synonym. Oh, that one's yield, this one's seed.
I see. It's because of the multiple choices, right? Like because it's going to say this most nearly means what? And they could both be difficult words. And so they're preparing you for that. Is that accurate? Okay, got you.
Yes. And so my thing was, I knew I was confident on the math because math is math. Like you can't, you're either multiplying, dividing, adding, or subtracting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just up to you to figure that out. Words, on the other hand, you can kind of look at a word sometimes and get it completely wrong from what it means.
Right.
And so at first, when the BSEP started, we would go through day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and then so on, right? At first, I was going on day 4, I would go back and study day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. But I saw that it was taking too much time to take a test for each day. Mm-hmm. So I kind of left it behind.
Okay.
Well, on day 10, when I was like, I haven't looked at day 1 words in 6 days, I probably should look at it. I was playing catch up because I was like, I know what these words are because I've looked at them for 6 days. I haven't tested on it.
Mm-hmm.
So long story short, Saturday, I spent the whole day studying the words. And then I looked at other topics because I talked to you. I was like, hey, it's the day before the day. What should I do? And you told me to look at a little bit of everything. And so that's what I did, just because I wanted to have other line scores that were high as well.
Okay.
So test day, besides packing up and leaving my hotel, I didn't want to study. I just wanted to overlook everything just to have a fresh mind. And, I would search it up, like, tips on test day of what to do before the test. And they were like, don't study, just eat a good breakfast, get there early. Like, don't be late. That's the thing. Don't be late.
Right.
Well, I woke up at 5:00 and I was like, I at least want to overlook the words because that's what I'm most nervous about. I'm not nervous about the math or paragraph comprehension. Like, it's super easy. So about an hour before the exam started, I had a throbbing headache and I was like, I don't know if I'm burnt out or if I'm just nervous.
Yeah.
And I honestly felt sick because I was like, oh, I did exactly what I shouldn't do. I was studying. And so I saw everybody start to head in. So I left all my stuff behind and I'm just sitting there, going over the words and the math equations in my head that I struggled with throughout the past 2 weeks. Well, I get to my seat and I get ready to take the exam and I'm shaking walking to my desk because I'm just super nervous. Because like I said, I was okay throughout the 2 weeks taking the exams, but the reason why I didn't like taking the exams before those 2 weeks was because I was nervous about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't know what that first question is going to ask you. It could be something you studied or it could be completely different. Right. That's the thing about ASVAB. So I see the first problem and I'm like, wow, that's super easy. And so all the nerves go away and I'm taking it. And the next thing I know, it's like, wow, you have 15 minutes and you used 9 minutes to answer all 15 problems. Like, you are prepared.
Nice. Let's go.
And so moving on to the math knowledge, it was the exact same thing. Wow, or not math knowledge, arithmetic reasoning, it was super easy. And then answering the word knowledge, it was super easy because I've done the preparation leading up to it. Mm-hmm. Even though there's a word or two or a math problem there you probably didn't see, you prepared yourself to do a little bit of everything to solve it. Mm-hmm. And so that's basically how I eliminated it. Of course, a few problems I still had to do 50-50 elimination, but I was in the ballpark as far as solving the problem out as far as math, Yep. And so you kind of have to go with that gut instinct. You pick which one you think is right. Honestly, I thought I was doing really bad because the questions kept getting easier. And you know what they say if you're taking ASVAB, if the questions are easy, you're probably doing bad.
Yeah. Yeah, because they give you easier questions to see how bad you are at math. But at the same time, if your skills are so well improved, they might just feel like easy questions. So
that's exactly right. And that's what I told my dad. I was like, I'm not sure if I was doing bad or if I was doing really well and the questions seemed super easy because of all of the studying I was doing. Mm-hmm. But naturally, it was asking me harder questions and I was getting them right in the long term. And once I finished the exam, so for the people who don't know, the object part on the ASVAB does not count towards anything towards your line score.
Yeah, assembling objects, the AO test. Yep.
It does not matter. But for me, I don't want to guess. That's just me. I want to try to get it right because I don't know. That's just who I am.
Oh yeah.
But I was the first person in and I was the last person to leave the room. And I was super nervous pushing my chair in. I was shaking walking out because, like I said, I didn't want to disappoint myself because I was studying since February. And the guy called me up and he was like, are you sure you want to see what you made? And I could look back and see the lady smiling. And I was like, no, I don't want to see my score. Like, I probably failed. And he was like, I don't know, man. Like, let's just look at it. And I kind of covered my face and I was like, oh, what's that? I saw a 1.4 at the end of it. And I was like, there's no way. And I looked at it and I was like, wow, I made a 114, and my goal was to get a 110.
So hell
I
yeah.
passed it. And not only did I pass GT, I passed everything. Like everything had went up. And so I was really proud of myself for that, because not only was I studying the GT portion, but I was learning how to do the skill technician stuff, the combat stuff, and everything else. It was just a matter of preparation and believing in yourself, because if you don't have confidence in yourself, like, you're not going to do anything you want. You have to believe in yourself. And that was probably the thing I needed the most, was confidence. Because we talked about that at the very beginning. I was like, I don't have confidence in myself. I don't know why, but that's what I'm struggling with the most. But I had the support from the people around me, and I had the support from my leadership in the military. Like, they were all like, "Noah, you have nothing to be nervous about. Like, you legit just graduated college. Just go take the exam."
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the biggest thing, was just having the support from around you, but you have to support yourself before you need that support from other people.
Right.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, you won't hear it, right? If everybody else is saying you could do it, and all you hear in your head is I can't, you're not going to hear them saying you can do it. So
yeah, you got to have that trust in yourself, and you have to trust the instructors. The instructors told us the average per class was a 122 average.
Nice. There you go.
So that means the average person walking in to take the BSEP, doesn't matter if they have a 90 or a 110 or a 70. The average was a 122 per person.
Nice. Let's go.
And the highest was a 136.
Heck yeah.
Of course, you still have your outliers of people who quite aren't there yet, but they'll get there. But the average person, the class before mine, was a 122.
Nice.
And so I had to believe in myself and trust the instructors, and do your part of not feeling embarrassed to ask, how did you get that? Or go asking for help. And so that was a big factor as well. And I was trying to get one of the instructors on, but they had their own personal things going on, and they were all taking leave. And so I couldn't get anybody, because one thing about the instructors also is they are up to date on the ASVAB as well. So they have to take the ASVAB. I'm not like the actual ASVAB,
yeah.
But they do take the practice test to say, hey, I am official. Like, I do take this just like you guys do.
Nice. I love it. That's awesome.
And they're almost perfecting the test, like not missing any problems.
Yeah. Yeah. They ace it.
They are the real deal.
Nice. Cool. No, that's great, man. That's great. I love the story. What would you say was your biggest struggle in the whole process? What do you think the toughest part was?
As far as GT or as far as the whole exam?
I'd say both, on a whole and then specific to GT.
On a whole, it was probably the mechanical stuff and the electronics. I've never been really that eager to learn about electronics. Now, of course, some things I do learn naturally being older, like working a job, you have to understand a little bit of things.
Mm-hmm.
But in my opinion, it's kind of hard to study that information if you're not interested in it, because it's super vague.
Mm-hmm.
I find the electronic problems to be super boring because I have no idea what's going on. You can kind of figure it out, but if you're not interested in it, you just don't know.
Right.
That was just like with the math. There was a question that was super easy, but I did not study it and I forgot it.
Mm-hmm.
And it asked me that question a few times, and I was like, wow, I'm thankful that this is math knowledge and not arithmetic reasoning. But if I would have studied that, that would have been extra X amount of points added to the score.
Right. If you got 3 more right out of the 15, that counts for a lot. Do you remember what it was? What type of question?
I think it was a reciprocal. And believe it or not, like a few weeks ago, I came across that word and I was like, reciprocal. I know what that is. It's just been a while since I looked at it.
Mm-hmm.
But I had 3 questions like that.
Gotcha.
And so I looked at it and I was like, it's either 1 or it's the opposite of itself or 0. Like, those are the only 3. So I can eliminate this crazy answer and just try to figure out what it is. I have no idea if I got it right or not, but I'll probably go and search up what is a reciprocal so I can understand it, because it's been a while since I looked at it. But As far as GT wise, like I said, words are easy if you just study the words. Paragraph comprehension is super easy. All you have to do is read what they're asking you. And if they're asking you for what do you infer from this passage?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like eliminate the crazy guesses, but you kind of have to go with the facts in what they're asking you. So like if it says Noah's favorite color is red, what do you infer from the passage? Well, this one's crazy. This one's unrelated. This one says Noah's favorite color is red, and this one says Noah's favorite color is blue. You kind of have the answer right there.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it was probably a little bit of the arithmetic reasoning, just getting over that fear of math, to be honest with you. It wasn't that I was bad at math, because from the moment we had our first session, you said, you know what you're doing. It's just as far as finishing the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're guessing right, but why did you guess that one? And then you guess and you're like, I have no idea why I guessed that. And it's like, well, you were on the right track, but you did this. That was what threw you off at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was it. In the past, it was geometry.
Okay.
But I found geometry to be super easy because it's very simple. It's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I signed, saying I wouldn't talk about certain things. So.
Yeah. Of course, you don't want to go too in depth on specific test questions, but no, I mean, I think it's good info. It's good information for sure. What would you say is the main strategy that helped you the most?
It's a good question. The main strategy is if you do not understand something, do not be afraid to ask questions, and you have to practice. Even if you're tired and you don't feel like doing it, you have to at least give yourself a little bit of time of studying. That studying will take you above and beyond what the average person is doing. And you'll see it when you do a little bit more studying. You'll see the people, you're not saying you're worried about the people around you, but you'll see that you're taking off and they're still a little bit farther behind because they may not be doing X, Y, and Z as far as you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I did notice that, like I said, I'm not comparing myself to the people around me, but my first GT score when we tested was a 109. And I was like, wow, I missed 5 problems that I know how to do. I just got it wrong mentally. And then on day 5, when we test again, it's like, okay, wow, now I'm at a 120. And the person beside me who didn't study last night or the night before, they're like, man, I'm still at a 93. And it's like,
yeah,
well, what are you doing different? It's like, well, I'm not doing anything after class. And it's like, right, that might be it. That might be it.
That's the gap.
You're forgetting the information. So,
got you. What was the first thing you did after seeing your scores? First thing after I saw my score, I sat back down. I was like, there's no way. I looked at that piece of paper and I was like, wow, I finally got it. Like, I was just so happy that I put in the work, because there was a lot of days I was like, man, I'm ready to go home. I'm hungry. I want to go home and see my parents, but I put in the work to get there. And it was just when I texted everybody and I texted you, it was just like, man, congratulations. I knew you could do it. Like, enjoy the moment. Be proud of yourself. Like, you deserve this because you put in the work. Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. If you could do it over again, is there anything you would change?
Probably, most definitely, I probably would have got a tutor earlier if I would have known. But I think, I would have got a tutor earlier just to be more prepared going to the BSEP.
Mm-hmm.
Because I kind of was cramming those last 3 weeks with your study set. I still didn't finish your study session. Right. I think I got to week 3 or 4, and I was like, okay, I have to be done with this because I have to focus on what I'm learning
in BSEP, right? At
BSEP. Because I was prepared, but it was just putting the cherry on top those last 3 weeks, and then refining those skills those last 2 weeks of the BSEP.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. But if I could go back prior to joining, I would have got a tutor before then. because it wasn't that difficult. It was just a matter of, I'm going to study on my own, and you don't study.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you see that score you don't like. And it's like, oh, well, I have to join now because I've already done X, Y, and Z. I have to join. It's like, when's the next time I can test? And it's like, I don't know. My job's done. I got you in the Army. See ya.
Recruiters. What can you do, right? That's the way it goes. Ah, shoot. Okay. So if a soldier was on the fence about getting tutoring, is there anything specific you would tell them?
Absolutely. I would encourage them to get a tutor, to seek out help. YouTube is always a good option, but if you just need that one-on-one like I did, I would recommend paying to get the tutor. Obviously, you have to do your research. That was my biggest thing with anything was, okay, is this legit? I think I asked your AI that because there's all types of scams on the internet. And I was like, is this legit? And it was like, yes, this is legit. And I saw the feedback. And I was like, okay, like these people have done this and they have passed. There should be no reason why I do not pass as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, I would promote ASVAB Domination because it helped me. But you have to get that help. Like if you're struggling, you have to find that help. YouTube is good. ChatGPT is, all right. But there's nothing will be in-person knowledge.
Agreed.
Just personally how I feel. And it's worth getting a tutor, Obviously I wish that we lived closer to each other, or classes were, the Zoom calls were a little bit longer. But within that hour, like you said, going over 3 or 4 problems, I was well prepared versus going over 30 and not knowing how to do 15 of the 30 problems.
Yeah.
Because those 3 problems lead to knowing how to do 10 problems. And then those 10 lead to doing 15 or 20 or 30. And the next thing you know, you're doing problems that you were struggling with by just looking at it and saying, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think I disagree with a lot of the ways that other tutors do it, where they try to do a full test in one session, and you can't, exactly like you said, if you understand those 3 questions really well, you're going to apply what you learned from those 3 questions to 10 questions each, because there is a lot of repetition in math knowledge and the arithmetic reasoning. And so if you're making the same mistake over and over again, you could fix like 5 mistakes and double your score, because you're making the same 5 mistakes over and over again. That's why your score is low. If you fix those 5 mistakes, you're off to the races. And so, it was great. You would take the time to learn it. And a lot of people can't sit with that unknowing, through a session. So you did great. You learned it quickly, and you were interested. Like if there was a gap in something that I was explaining, you would ask me to repeat and go slower. And so that you were your best advocate. Like it was awesome. I'm so happy that you were able to score really well.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate that. And like I said, at BSEP, I wasn't perfect. I would miss a simple question, go back and, why did I pick that question? Like I had this one written down, but I changed it.
Mm-hmm. And
so that's when you go back to study alone at night, you have to dial in and say, okay, hey, like this goes from a 109 to a 110 based off this one problem.
Yep.
And so you have to figure out those small minor mistakes of second guessing yourself. And
no, and you did, and I'm so happy for you. What did you do anything to celebrate? Have you got any plans?
No, I got my date to start phase 1 already, so hop on that as soon as possible. I wanted to get home as soon as possible. Like that was my thing. I had a long drive back, and I was just pumped. I was just happy to see that score, because it's one of those things that. So my overall GT score was a 114 in the Army. Now I'm not sure if this is true, but this is just what the instructors told us. You can do anything you want in the Army with a 118.
Oh yeah.
So even though I was 4 points off, I can still do everything I want to do and have options. That's the biggest thing, is having options. You don't have to worry about someone picking something for you.
Mm-hmm.
But my overall score, I think it went from like a a 38 or 35 all the way to a 71. And that was simply just studying, mainly focusing on GT. But like you said, those last few days, okay, hey, you know your skills are refined in the GT area. Study a little bit of everything else now because you don't want to lack. And so that's what I did.
Nice. No, hell yeah. Well, I'm happy it worked out. Noah, thank you so much for your story. I hope this inspires another soldier. And yeah, I'm happy that it's opening doors for you. It's great.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. I will definitely think about, long run being an officer or, going to WAC now that I have those scores. But I will definitely share you and share that like people need to get out and take that, retake the BSEP. For those who don't know, you can only take the BSEP 4 times, but you have to wait 6 months in between.
Okay. Good to know.
It has to be approved by your chain of command. But yeah, just get that course in. It opens more doors. You don't want that door to close. Just take the chance. Bet on yourself.
Let's go. I love it. All right. Thank you, Noah. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you, sir. I'll share you. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it.